Yeah, Greg, I don't know if you're rocking out over there.
I know Greg's over there bopping around.
Really?
This is...
He's just vibing.
Yeah.
I'm stopping it. Let's just hold it. Let me just see here.
And internet is hard.
Maybe they don't want you to share the music.
Anyway, hey, welcome everybody. Forget about that anyway. Who cares? Welcome everybody to the live stream. We were just we're playing the Cranberries' Liar. I thought I shared the audio, but I must not have. Anyway, welcome to EXJW-Live. We got Mitch and Nash. Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mitch got into a horrible alligator. There was an alligator attack last night. Mitch's stitches and he's in the
I'm from the Northwest, it was pretty stupid of me to do that. So
yeah, there's not a lot of alligators in that part of the state.
No, I'm on my back this morning. That's why I said if I'm vertical, I'll be there. But anyway, I decided to join on audio. So
yeah, just laying in traction.
Yeah,
you have such a cool avatar there. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Ron Swanson, he looks like a good Jehovah's Witness elder in that video, in that picture.
He does. Remember the age of the mustache, so I'm older than all you guys.
Is that going to change now? Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Age of the goatee, the creepy goatee.
Yeah. But I was I was raised in the 80s and in the org, and I think that was the real mustache era. So yeah, I knew a few guys that looked exactly like you, Ron.
It's growing up, I always knew some guys with mustaches, but it was always super weird if someone new started to grow one. It was like, if they already always had one, it was fine. But then if someone started growing a new mustache, they go through that creepy looking phase, and it's just, but I feel like some people get an attitude about it too. Like, oh, you can't change it up too often.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Same with shaving your head. Like some people would give you, they would criticize you for shaving your head. So.
So who's did we share the post here
or? Yep, I shared it. Mitch shared it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, this is like, I don't know what you guys feel, but this is kind of an exciting time right now for us. This Norway thing has it's just really generated a lot of interest and kind of like excitement in the community. This is a big deal, and it kind of snuck. I mean, I knew that this case was coming, and that they were appealing the decision in Norway. We've talked about Norway so many times on this channel. Hey, Nash.
Yes.
Yeah. It seems like every time we do a video, it's about Norway.
That's what usually gets me back into it. Like, we should do
that. So, I mean, first thing is, I think we just got to congratulate those people, the XJWs in Norway. And wow, like they are really holding the Watchtowers' feet to the flame. Hey, like this is just awesome what they have done, with the help of the Norwegian government too. I mean, even in my case, it's the help of my government as well. So, like this is awesome. Hey,
agreed.
Yep, it is. Why don't we? Mitch has been. I don't know. I should have asked you this earlier, but do you kind of have a Cole's notes of? You want to take us through the last week? Some bullet points. You've been following it probably the closest on Twitter.
Oh, good grief! Yeah, you're putting me on the spot, and
Yeah.
like I said, I haven't even had my coffee yet. But let's see if I can
Man.
just do a quick.
Just go back into your
recap.
Twitter.
I should open my Twitter. I'm gonna do it
And
from
then you
memory
can
though.
just start it on day one.
Yeah. So day
Yeah, open your
one.
Twitter. We'll even share Twitter on here.
Yeah, if you want to share, open my Twitter, go for it. Let's see, because I do have like the premium features now, so I've been sharing a lot the big articles on
Mhm.
my profile, which is
Which
pretty
I've been
nice.
loving. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this last week, Monday was the start of the trial in Norway, and the first day, if I remember right, was the Jehovah's Witnesses' opportunity to present their version of the case. You know, their opening statements, and I got to find some posts here, but they started out by basically saying, you know, we don't break apart families. You know, shunning is a protected religious right. And you're not allowed to use our literature as evidence, which is just, a ridiculous thing that they don't want people to use their videos and publications. You're not allowed to interpret those religious texts.
Did you delve into they're like, I might have read it, but I mean, I don't think it would be describable anyway. How they reasoned that?
Yeah, I wish I spoke Norwegian.
I don't know. Hopefully we can get some more information. Basically they called the Watchtower publications. If all the translations were good, what was shared in the news media was they basically said Watchtower's publications are our religious texts, and the government is not allowed to interpret our religious texts, and therefore you're not allowed to interpret our information on shunning, which is very, very plain language. What the instructions are to Jehovah's Witnesses, right? I mean, I have some tweets about that this week. So that was just ridiculous, of an argument to make.
Yeah, that was let's throw all the evidence out argument.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were going for.
Sorry, I'm still trying to get my posts up here.
There was so much went on.
I'm scrolling through you. I'm back to. Oh my goodness, I'm still on day 5.
Yeah, I posted a lot.
I mean, I think while you're doing that, I think that we can. I mean, when it comes to their testimony and what's going on, at the heart of it, it's this debate about what is the reality of shunning, and what do they teach about shunning, and what does the Watchtower, their testimony at the case about shunning, and how they are so opposed. Like it's just ridiculous how on how much they lie. I mean, we called this live stream "Liar Liar Watchtower's Pants on Fire." That was Nash's idea, by the way. And it's like it is. And what I said in one of my tweets was, it's just absurd now. It's absurd what Watchtower says is going on in court, in their testimony, and what's really going on, and what they preach. I mean, it's just insanity how opposite it is. And I just it's how do they get away with this? They keep getting away with it, and how do they even square this in their head?
Right. How many? I would love to learn from some of our friends who are in the courtroom. Like, how are Jehovah's Witnesses who are there to support this or to testify? Man, are they sitting in on this court trial too and hearing Watchtower's defense? And like, how do you square that as an active Jehovah's Witness? So.
Yeah, this is so one of the BBB says they're telling people who went to law school that they can't understand their pamphlets. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, so I sent a text to one of my family members yesterday because you know, that's what I do. I haven't heard from them for years, but every once in a while I send a text. And that's what I'm like wondering, like, how do you, like, do you think it's just they just in their head? Okay, in the back of their mind, is it just nothing is going on, or is it, oh, this is theocratic warfare? Is that what it is? Is that what they're?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, Watchtowers framing it and the Jehovah's Witness framing it is, this is an attack on our religion. You're breaking the law on allowing us our religious freedom, which again, we got to remind everybody is all about money. That's what all this is about, that they were deregistered and they lost their funding every year. And so Watchtower will use theocratic warfare in order to get funding. It's kind of crazy.
Hey, Yan's watching.
What?
Oh, nice. Hello, Yan. My favorite
Send him the link
Norwegian.
if he wants.
You
want the link, Yan?
Oh, he's saying
Yeah.
mostly circuit overseers and their wives in the audience of the court, maybe. Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I mean, at the heart of it, at the beginning, they claimed that the religious community has no rules for contact with expelled family,
Mm-hmm.
and every one of us, and every ex-Jehovah's Witness, even if they're out and they still believe and want to go back, know
Yeah.
that's a lie.
Okay, so I have the Vartland articles open, so I'll just kind of pick some highlights from that day one. Believes the state cannot interpret religious texts.
It's
so the-
interesting. Sorry, just one thing. It's interesting what Yan is saying here about how people were crying, like, and the wives they seem to get pretty emotional about this, and several of them were crying. So that's wow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I asked somebody that earlier in the week because in the Spain trial that just took place, some ex-JWs were saying that the courtroom was filled with emotion except from the witnesses. And so, so it's interesting to see that, some of these stories got through to some JWs.
And so interesting what Yan just said, that a lot of women haven't been, because of the nature of the org, of course, women are not involved. They never got to hear any of this stuff before. So maybe they're hearing it for the first time, whereas these, CO-ish people are, they've heard it before. So that's super interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, Ron. I just thought we wanted to mention that.
No, that's great. So some other things that were said by the Jehovah's Witnesses on their opening statements was that, these are just an insignificant amount of boring events. What these ex-JWs are presenting as a problem, and that's kind of offensive, a dismissive way to look at what shunning does to people and their personal experiences. Let's see, they reject that shunning hinders people's free expression or freedom of religion. They reject that you lose contact with your family. So again, just lying about that practice does not break up families. So that was day one, and then day two was
just
the
to
state.
stop you for a second. Is that the day that they mentioned the other cases? Like, and they talked a lot about Canada and what happened here? I think that was day one, was
yes,
it?
probably. Yeah, I think, they definitely highlighted like how the ECHR has defended Jehovah's Witnesses' right to shunning, how it's a legal practice that's well respected. And they might have mentioned Canada. Yeah. So, which you have a clip from that Canadian case, right?
Oh yeah. Like, well,
everybody's seen it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? People might be seeing this for the first time, but I don't have it teed up. See you later, Yan. Thanks for popping in. So that was day one. Was basically Watchtower making their case, and the current Watchtower. And we were quite clear that most of the people that testified were people that had been disfellowshipped already, hey, and then come back.
Yeah, I think a fair amount of the witnesses for the JW side were, they were sharing their expressions of how disfellowshipping was good for them, or family members who have disfellowshipped, had to shun others. We're talking about how beneficial of a system it was. So the kind of people you would put on a convention program talking about how beneficial disfellowshipping is, right?
Huh. Hey, Nash, did you get disfellowshipped and then came back, and then you got removed a second time? That's what it was, right?
Yeah. I took me 8 months to get reinstated, and then I was in for a year-ish, and then I was done for good.
What do you think you would have said after? And this is almost a defense of those people on the stand, because remember, I mean, this is how I feel. These people are indoctrinated. This is cult mindset, right? And I don't look at these people that are testifying on the stand. I probably would have testified the same way on the stand if I was still in. You know what I mean? What do you think you would have said, Nash?
Oh, I think so. I think you're so conditioned to make excuses for the organization and everything they do, and obviously, if you're trying to come back, I mean, the reality is, why you're trying to come back, because it's your entire life you just lost, your social network, your family, but you have yourself convinced that it's Jehovah, and so when you write your letters to the elders asking for reinstatement, it's always, you have to make sure that in that letter it doesn't say anything about how you miss your family or you miss your friends. It has to be, I'm so sorry that I hurt Jehovah, and Jehovah's heart and is so sad now, and I need to make it better. And even though I didn't really feel those things, I had to write them down because I knew that was the only way back. And I never had this personal relationship with invisible Jehovah. I pray to the guy all the time, but you don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess some people do. I never felt that.
I had to be honest with myself after. I didn't either. The Falling Tower. Hey, welcome. This is we got some famous people in the audience. So he's saying he's had several people tell him that being DF'd was needed for them to come back and shape up.
I've heard that from people too.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think we all have. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Jake's
what's that?
Jake's in the chat.
Oh, hey, Jake. Wow.
Long time no chat. Is that a
we
thing?
Love
Is
you,
that
Jake.
a thing?
You're the best. You do this way better than we do.
I know. Go watch Jake stream after this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Head straight over there.
I think he will later. Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Well, today's the day, everybody's got to catch up on this. Okay, so Mitch, do you know? So they showed the videos, the greatest video of all time, the 2016 shunning video, and then the cartoons.
Yes.
So that must have been the state that asked to show those.
Yeah. So that was day 2, where the state was, presenting their side of the case.
Right.
And pretty straightforward. They were demonstrating. This is the evidence that Jehovah's Witnesses, shun and break apart families, and it can apply to children, because that's again what it's all about. Is the fact that they can shun children is what lost them their funding. So they presented videos, articles. So they just they presented that it's a deliberate means of pressure. They showed evidence that, children do get baptized young, even though Jehovah's Witnesses immediately jumped to, well, we don't baptize infants as their defense. But they still, 10 years old or 8 years old, that happens. And then those kids are fully in the system. So
let's linger on that point for a while. I don't know how much. So I've done, I was a mortgage broker for a while, and I did some university, and I can't remember when I learned about contract law, right? And there is many things that make contracts void, right? And I think in whatever course I was taking, the one of them was capacity, right? And that's where the age of the individual that you're going into a contract with matters, right? And, also with regards to consequences of the contract itself, right? There's always a line in law. There's always a line that's drawn. Okay. And, like, take, for instance, violation of human rights. Your human rights are violated quite often, right? But it's only when it crosses a certain threshold, and that threshold is determined by the courts, but it's also determined by the public, right? Like doing a breathalyzer on the side of the road is actually a violation of your human rights, but it's just we as a society have decided that threshold is okay. Like, we're going to accept that violation just for the safety of people, right? And so when it comes to contract law, there is a threshold as to when this contract can be put in force and when it can't be. And so this is kind of the debate. The Watchtower is saying, no. A 13-year-old, a 14-year-old can enter into this contract, and it's totally legit, right? And we, I think, are on the side that history will say is correct and say, no, the consequences of this contract are too massive, right? If the individual breaks this contract, they lose their association with their family, they lose association with their entire social group, right? And so that threat, the consequences are too much for a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old to handle, right? And so, it's so telling about the Watchtower and how they are trying to make it out that a 15-year-old, 14-year-old can handle this responsibility. They can't handle that responsibility.
No, and this is where I think I get so irritated with the whole situation, is because it's, that is their argument, and that is what they're trying to prove, that they think that mature children can make this decision, and that they know the consequences and they know what they're signing up for. But at the same time, they go into court and they also lie about those same consequences.
Yeah.
Why can they not, if this is what they truly believe, just like we were taught growing up, that if it's Jehovah's standards, and if it comes down to Jehovah or you, Jehovah comes first, whether it's blood transfusions, neutrality, whatever it may be, you always make a stand, no matter the consequences to yourself.
Yeah.
But Watchtower doesn't play by those rules. They will go up and lie. They will just flat out lie rather than just own what they're trying to do. They do want to have that control. They do want to allow kids to be baptized and have the consequences of shunning. That is the reality of the situation. Why can't you own that? How come you get up there and lie? How can the governing body lie to the Australian Royal Commission? How can these lawyers continuously lie to the courts over money, of all things, over money, which was something I never thought was an issue as a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah. Apparently it is. Apparently money is number one. And another, to linger on this point about the kids. I on the Prize commented that a lot of the kids are homeschooled, right? And to further to that, whether they're homeschooled or not, you are. Let's be honest. We were not normal kids. Okay, and this is what's difficult, I think, for the courts to deal with. Right? Is they, what is your starting point? Your starting point is a normal 14-year-old, a 15-year-old that grew up in a normal house where they make their own choices. And I mean, listen, no house is normal. You know what I mean? Even just because you grew up in the world doesn't mean your house is normal. But okay, that being said, the witnesses, the kids growing up in that household, it's not a free household. These kids, first of all, if I take myself as an example, I didn't know who I was, right? I didn't make my own decisions, and I was a pretty stubborn kid, so it created a lot of conflict in me. So you're just not starting. These kids are not normal. They've been indoctrinated their whole life, and then they're gonna make a educated, unbiased decision when they're 15, in my case 16. Come on. No.
And they also say that they don't serve out of fear. Remember, that was one of their comments, that it was insulting to say that that
Right.
that members serve out of, they don't call them members, but that they serve out of fear. And it's a frustrating thing because when we were young, one thing Jehovah's Witnesses are good at is painting other religions as teaching fear. There's fear,
Yeah.
there's hell. We don't teach
Because
about
because
hell.
we don't believe in hell, then we don't
So
have
there's
any fear in
so
our
there's no
group.
fear, but the fear is you're going to die forever.
Mhm.
So there's no difference other than the torture part. I mean, it's the same same reward threat philosophy of every religion. It's rewards and threats.
Yeah.
And
Well,
fear.
except for with Jehovah's Witnesses, you do have that fear of, oh, if I do one wrong step, I can lose my entire family and friend group.
Yeah,
Like,
in the here and now.
in the here and now, not even in the afterlife.
Let me ask you guys, like when you were getting baptized, so let's do real life examples here. When you were getting baptized, did you think about that? Did you think, wait a second here, now that I'm going to be baptized, if I F up, I'm going to get disfellowshipped? Did you think about that?
No,
I didn't.
I didn't personally. I thought, oh, well, that's never going to happen to me. I'm a good kid.
Yeah.
I believe this. It's all, yeah.
That is I think the most common way. It's hard to explain to somebody later on, but I remember, like, I was 11, so I didn't know anything, and you feel like that's not even an option, right? And so I said this to my son when he still talked to me years ago, and he would have been around that age, around 11, 12 years old. And I tried to have a quick talk with him because I could tell he was pulling away, and it was right before he stopped coming to see me. And I talked to him about getting baptized, and I said, just, like, don't rush into baptism. And if you ever have any questions, like, make sure you really look at them. And I said, the reality is, once you get baptized, there's serious consequences to everything you do and the way you think. And so I just want you to be ready for that. And he's like, I'm not worried about that. And I said, if something changes or something happened and, you could be shunned or lose your family. He's like, that'll never happen. And I was like, why do you say that'll never happen? Because it won't. And I said, Calvin, I was you. I was 10 years old and thought that'll never happen. And I never thought it would happen. And then here I am at 36 and everything's changed. So things happen. No matter who you are, things happen in life. But he just like that, just a blank stare, like that'll never happen. And I think that is a common theme. I think that's the way most of us probably felt or do feel for those that are in it.
It's interesting that some, in the XJWs who testified this week did talk about that fear of, different personalities for sure. Everybody's different, but for some people, I don't want to discount that they did have that fear of, if I ever mess up, or, maybe they were drawn to their friends at school and they were just, I think a lot of them that maybe have that fear are the kids who figure it out really young that this isn't true. Because kids are pretty damn smart these days, and so I've known a lot of younger people who have woken up or realized they didn't want to get baptized, or it's all bullshit, when they were 13, 12 years old. So
this is see you later, Jake. Thanks for coming round. Okay, so kids, I mean, what, if I just want, I just, because to be honest, a lot of this stuff is close to my heart, this shunning thing. And a lot of us, I know everybody here, it is too, right? I think that, anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked. This kids thing, what do you think? Let's say the governments of the world made the Watchtower adjust their policy with regards to children getting baptized, because the consequences of getting disfellowshipped are so massive. What do you think the solution would be? Just simply you're not allowed to get baptized until you're 18 or 19 years old? Or do kids have to sign some sort of document that they acknowledge the consequences of what happens if you were to get disfellowshipped? What do you think there?
I don't think anything could ever happen, to be honest, because I think it's too they can't set a precedent with the Jehovah's Witnesses just because
Yeah.
they have insane consequences for being baptized if you get expelled. Now, all of a sudden, that falls down to every religion, that does practice infant baptism. And they're not going to say we're going to wait till 18 to baptize. I mean, there'd be no christenings or anything else.
Yeah.
So I can't see it. Although I think that's the way it should be, especially for Jehovah's Witnesses, because there is such a massive responsibility put on you. I don't think it'll ever happen because every other religion will come running in.
Yeah.
So really, okay, so that's interesting to think about. So if there's going to be a change,
well, I wanted to say something on that real quick. I think the real change is going to come because of pressure in the court of public opinion. XJWs telling it how it is what really hurts Watchtower's reputation. And so if they want their reputation to improve, they're going to have to change some of these things. And so, I don't know that they'll ever get rid of disfellowshipping, but will they make changes to mandatory shunning or, family shunning? Or, what would be really great is for them to stop shunning those who decide to just walk away. If they changed, like disassociation wasn't the same as disfellowshipping, I could see a change like that. But it'll come from either them losing money in country after country or just societal pressure not putting up with this bad practice anymore.
Yeah. So you guys are probably right in that it's probably maybe government overreach or just wishful thinking on our part that the government is going to mandate somehow that children can't get baptized or anything with regards to that. I mean, the Catholic Church baptizes, babies. The thing is, though, with Catholic Church, if you leave the church, there's really no consequences, almost none. But yeah, so that the change is yes, probably from public opinion, and probably will be in a what Nash and I have talked about is a change in the consequences for disfellowshipping or shunning. When do you guys think? Do you think, let's talk about this. When do you think the change is coming soon? And you know what? You guys talk about this. I'm just going to fill my coffee up.
I don't think it'll be soon. I don't know. I guess it depends what you think soon is. I think there's a lot of things like Norway need to happen before they get pressured. But here's my thoughts on the whole thing are that I think Watchtower, and I think you pointed this out, Mitch, was that with this lately with the PID department and the way they've been lying and putting out these puff pieces for so long, you can't lie forever without starting to act the way you're lying.
Right.
And so I think on paper, they will start to make these changes kind of slowly and feed them in where they'll soften their stance on shunning a little bit. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I said it, so yeah. No, I think it's true. Like they'll have that pressure from the outside, but what they're doing to counter the pressure from the outside, like in the media and in courtrooms, is going to cause conflict internally because JWs are going to read news reports or see stories, and they're going to see how their organization is lying about this practice that they are told is from Jehovah. And that's going to cause an internal conflict in JW's minds, and it's going to lead to more doubts and questioning. And I mean, it was a huge factor in why I started speaking out was because they weren't being honest when they're telling us as kids to, stand up for the truth. And so, yeah, I think I don't know when a change will come. This last year has proven that they can change anything they want when they want,
whenever they want,
and it could surprise us. But it might be a few years off.
And how little the Jehovah's Witnesses react to it, really, in a negative way. I mean, I guess we're not going to see the negative way; we see the positive. But it is shocking to me how quickly they can change massive doctrines and practices. And Jehovah's Witnesses are just like, sweet, we're on board with all of it. And that's crazy to me. That must feel like some incredible power for a guy like Jeffrey Jackson to just hop on with a goatee and just be like, yep, here we go.
It's so weird. Weird.
I think the change, I'm going to disagree with you guys. I missed some of what, but I get the feeling you're thinking it's going to be later rather than sooner. I think it'll be sooner rather than, I think we might be closer. I mean, I know I'm just kind of being devil's advocate here a little bit.
Okay. Well, here's a question.
You guys are probably right, but actually, if I would bet some money that it might be sooner rather than later, that there's going to be, let's just say, a slight change, a small change, you know?
Well, here's the conflict I see with them too, is that like they always talk about a wrongdoer, you know, like this is a willful wrongdoer, and even all the all the witnesses that came up and testified about how it was a great thing. You know, it was like, I wasn't ready to repent. I wasn't at a place, you know, to come back, or, you know, like it was my fault that I got disfellowshipped. I've been in a lot of judicial committees in my life and got disfellowshipped twice. And I'll tell you what, it has nothing to do with repentance. And I didn't realize that until my first one I was disfellowshipped at. That's when I realized this has nothing to do with repentance, because you can look at how they look at a case and how they deem your repentance, and it's written right in the Shepherd book. And I had a friend actually gave me a copy of the Shepherd book as I was getting disfellowshipped the last time, and I looked through and I couldn't believe how they worked it out and how they came to their conclusions. And lots of times they had their minds made up beforehand. And I mean, I knew that that first time I got disfellowshipped, I was really sorry, and I was in a terrible place in my life. And man, I loved the truth and all of it. And I didn't want to get kicked out. There wasn't an apostate thought in my head ever. I would never, like I was just a broken guy, and they kicked me out as an unrepentant wrongdoer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that was when I realized this has nothing to do with being repentant. And Jehovah's Witnesses all believe it does.
Yeah.
They really do believe that. That's why you're not scared of disfellowshipping, because you don't think.
Yeah, you'll never not be sorry about it.
Because you're like, I'll be sorry, I'll be repentant. And I think Dick even said that in the comments. That's kind of in the back of your mind. Like, I'm not too worried about it because I'll never be a willful wrongdoer.
Right. Yeah, you don't realize, oh, well, who knows about it is a factor, and what's the appearance, that's a factor. Yeah. And so there's these things out of your control, and they are just people. They aren't inspired by Holy Spirit. There is no magic happening. It's people's opinions following a rule book, so and some of them are more hardline than others. So you never know. My wife tells a story of being in the Kingdom Hall one time. Their hall had a basement, and so like the elders would meet in the basement. And she was there. I don't know if it was in the afternoon or something, but she was a pioneer, I think, at the time. And she could tell someone was down there, like a group of people, and it was a judicial committee going on. And it was a guy from another congregation. He walked up the stairs, there was some shouting, and he yelled down at the elders, is like, I came to you. Like, wow. That's what people do. They think, like, I have a guilty conscience. I want to do the right thing. I come to the elders, and then, that's like the number one evidence of a repentful person. And it doesn't matter. They'll just fellowship someone depending on the other factors,
And just on top
people
of that,
are blindsided by that because they don't think we don't think that's the way it works when you believe God's Holy Spirit is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just on top of that, just remember, like, even just the idea, it's called a judicial committee. Like, the whole point is about punishment, right? And just think that if you were to idealize religion, like the perfect religion, you'd think it would be comfort. Like a person is going to these leaders of the church to help. Like, hey, I made this mistake, and I feel so bad about it, and they're comforting you. In the JW religion, there's none of that. They
No,
may
it's a
might
court.
talk about that. It's all about, do we kick this person out or not? What kind of punishment are we going to put onto this person? That's it. Do we punish them or not punish them? Comfort?
Right.
Yeah, that's out the window.
Right. I had another thought earlier this week. I was talking to someone, and it's funny, how witnesses will present the good things about their religion, which again, anything good isn't unique to them, and anything unique to them isn't that good. But it's if let's say a Bible student has a problem with smoking or drug addiction, and the witnesses will go out of their way to help someone with their addictions and get them clean and support them in the efforts to get them to become a Jehovah's Witness. But then if an active Jehovah's Witness has those same exact addictions or issues,
Yep.
they're going to kick that person out. They won't offer them the help that they offer a stranger. They will, another phrase we've heard a lot, Jehovah's Witnesses shoot their wounded. If someone's not behaving how they want or not presenting the right image of a JW, you're out. And that is not loving. You cannot argue that something like that is loving.
You're awesome, Mitch. That I've never thought about that before, about the difference between the way they treat people in the world versus their own. That is so true.
And other religions, they generally have programs or something set up. They're usually linked with addictions programs or social programs for people that are vulnerable or having issues, to try and get them the help they need. The last thing they do is just boot them out on the street and say, sorry, you're with Satan now.
Yeah, you're having an alcohol problem and you went to a church for an Alcoholics Anonymous, you're disfellowshipped. Like, what the hell?
What is that all about?
Oh, good grief.
Megs is saying that if you answer the question honestly, then you're not repentant.
Yeah.
Right.
A quick story. When I walked out of one of my judicial committees that I didn't get disfellowshipped at, and actually I got privately reproved this one. One of the elders on my committee, who was about similar age to me, I've known him my whole life, as we're walking out after the decision had been made, he looks at me and he's like, it goes to show Jehovah's Spirits here, because I thought for sure you were going to get disfellowshipped.
Oh my gosh.
And this is an elder on the committee.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I was always like, what are you getting at?
Yeah.
But he had his mind made up when he went in.
I know. Does that mean he voted the other way?
Yeah, like
He must have.
Yeah. So if you did get disfellowship, then Jehovah's Spirit wasn't there. I don't know.
I don't know.
So, if we wanted to get back on track to Norway a little bit,
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
It's
let's do
some
that.
of the same stuff. The Jehovah's Witnesses came on and testified about how beneficial shunning was, defends the practice, and it's unfair to be criticized for this. They were arguing, well, it's unfair for you guys to be criticizing us. It makes us feel really unsafe and yada yada yada, all that stuff. And then, sorry, I'm just opening up another article here. They had a Jehovah's Witness. The translation calls it Jehovah's Witness board member.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I'm imagining that should be like a branch representative, maybe from Scandinavian branch. So he came on and completely denied that that families get broken up, that excluded members can not talk to their families or anything. And it was ridiculous, the statements he was making. And I put it in a tweet. It says, really, Mr. JW spokesman. This was on.
Yeah, I remember that.
This was on the 13th, 7 a.m. the 13th. I don't know if you can find that one.
Yeah, I can. It's not too far down here. I'm still on the 10th. I mean, there's just so much going on.
I know. I've been posting a lot. So,
well, good for you. And hey, again, let's while we're looking for this, let's shout out to Larchwood, who's been, I think Larchwood has been the kind of spearheading informing all of us about it, right? So shout out to Larchwood for that.
He's been getting a lot of messages. I think he'll be okay with me sharing this. Basically being at his computer, getting text messages from 5 different people in 4 different languages, to put all this stuff together for the community. So huge thank you to him. And then also Miss Usato, JB is here in the comments. She's been updating
Here it is
on Avoid JW. Yeah, is that the one? Yeah. So this was in response to the story of Numi. I guess I kind of jumped ahead, didn't I? But anyway, we'll just talk about it.
That's okay. Who cares?
Yeah, the branch member and this Jorgen Peterson spokesman presented lies about we do not break apart families. Anyway, Jehovah's Witnesses encourage parents to take loving care of their children. They do not control family of members. Each family must make its own decision in matters of child rearing, and the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses does not interfere with families. No one is pressured to become a Jehovah's Witness in the next image.
Yep.
They use the Bible as the authority, which they also are playing that card in court. We just follow the Bible.
Yeah.
And so anytime they would bring up an article, they would go back to, we follow the Bible, and they just repeat the same scriptures, kind of like in the Australian Royal Commission, those lawyer elders who just kept saying, we follow the Bible.
That's an obvious. That's an obvious tactic they use, and I think I tweeted about that too. In that preparing for child custody case,
yes,
and in all these court cases, they do the very same thing. It's when they're getting ready, they always emphasize that you have to tell the court your beliefs are you came to these realizations based on the Bible, not to do with our religion or our publications or anything you were told. Always the Bible, and it's funny how they recognize that's how important that is to try and convince the courts that they're not.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because it just kind of shows like an insight into the kind of coaching these JW witnesses in the court probably got. So.
Listen to the last 2 sentences here and how ridiculous what he's saying. Each individual worshiper is free to make moral decisions and choose whether or not he or she wants to serve God and live according to Bible principles. This is also the case when it comes to the Bible's principles of sexuality and exclusion. So an individual, if you really want to get into the weeds here, which I love doing, they're saying an individual is free to make their own decisions when it comes to Bible principles and sexual morality and exclusion. So thus, what does free mean? What does it mean to be free? And are Jehovah's Witnesses free, right? And you use the analogy, and I've said this before on this channel. Let's say you have Ron, you're visiting me, Mitch, you're visiting me at my house. And I say, Mitch, you are free to leave. You're free to leave. But by the way, when you leave at the door, I'm going to break your legs with a bat. So are you free to leave, Mitch? Is that freedom? Right? And so the human rights acknowledges this, and this is called freedom without coercion. So yes, witnesses are free to make their own decisions about sexual morality, but if they make the wrong choice, they're going to lose all their family and all their friends. So is that freedom? No, it's not freedom at all. They are not free to make their own choices about sexual morality. They are not free to make their own choices about exclusion.
Right. Yeah. So then if you go back to the main part of that post and scroll down, the next follow-up tweets in that thread are evidence from Watchtower's website. Oh, yeah. Just scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So all of these are like, quotes from Watchtowers. What happens between what are family members supposed to do to those who are disfellowshipped? So you can just select some of those that I've highlighted.
I don't know how to make it bigger here.
Oh. Yeah. On mine, I have to actually do like the pinch to zoom kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's one. Are you proving yourself holy by not associating with family members or others who are disfellowshipped? I mean, you can just go on and on and on about this. I don't want to leave this page because I mean, has everybody seen the video recently that was posted? I mean, I tweeted about it where it's just plain. It's just plain. Don't associate with the. Oh, we've just seen this one with disfellowship people. Really,
This is why they didn't want. This is why they didn't want their material used in court. It's real obvious. This is all the damning evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Is your resolute stance to put Jehovah above everything else, including the family bond. We do not look for excuses to associate with a disfellowshipped family member, for example, through email, not even through email.
Yeah.
Right.
Emails will get you.
So yeah, to argue that they have no say in how family members are supposed to treat disfellowship family members, like it's a total lie, and they know it's a lie. That's what's crazy is, and what I was saying. What do Jehovah's Witnesses in the courtroom think when they're denying what they teach them? It's just crazy.
You know, look at what rational men is that Mensch?
Mensch, yeah.
Said if one is free, then no need for a judicial committee.
Right.
Yeah, what's the point of a judicial committee? If they're free to do whatever they want, why do they even have a judicial committee? Why is that even a thing?
Yeah. You can put comments up, I think, Greg, on your end.
Oh yeah, I just haven't been.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
What do you want me to say?
No, I don't want you to say anything. You just do what you're doing, man. Do what you're doing. I think it's I don't know if we got to this, but I was thinking with the whole softening their stance on shunning, I could see them, making a little bit of a shift in doctrine or on paper or on the website, but they will continue this same control culturally in their members. Like someone like my dad, for instance, I think he would continue to shun me because he really thinks he's doing it based on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not doing it because Watchtower wants him to. He's doing it because he thinks, the scripture says that he's not even to eat a meal with somebody that doesn't bring the word of Jesus. And it's funny how they can flip flop back and forth. Like they'll be shunning me maybe because I did something wrong that got me disfellowship for a while. I don't say it's drinking. Well, I don't drink. I haven't drank in 7 years. Well, now we're shunning you because you don't believe in Jehovah and you don't submit to him. And in their own heads, they can just kind of justify that, even though it doesn't really follow the rules, but it does. And I don't know. I just feel like real hard-in members, it won't really change anything for them. I think they'll believe that shunning is still a good thing. But I think for a lot of people, I think it would be just like, sweet. Now we can visit with our family again.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a really interesting topic, and I might push back on you a little bit there. Yeah. I don't. I think that, I mean, your dad, I mean, you know your dad way better than I do. I just don't know if Watchtower came out and made it crystal clear that this is in fact you choose who you want to associate with. There's going to be no repercussions whatsoever whether you associate with a disfellowshipped or not. This is your choice. It's really and if that was actually and there was no more parts about about not associating with disfellowshipped people, they totally changed. I don't know if there would be very many people that actually follow through with shunning.
I don't think they can do that, though. I don't think they can ever pull back on shunning like they did with something like, say, beards, right? Because beards was an easy one to back off of. They're like, you know what? There was never anything in the scriptures that told us we couldn't have beards. It was a cultural thing. Whatever. Let's show a video, and now everybody gets a beard. Sweet. Shunning has been such a massive part of their religion and of their control and of their life, and it pretty much affects all Jehovah's Witnesses in some way or another. I can never see them backing right off of it. They just couldn't. It would be like them backing off the blood doctrine completely too.
Yeah.
I can't see those completely going away.
So Meg's in the comments. No, we're talking hypothetical.
We're saying what if.
Yeah, what if? And so I wanted to steal I got this from the Falling Tower, Matt, a while ago in a conversation. He asked the question, if they did make that announcement where it's like shunning is entirely a personal decision now, you don't have to shun disassociated family members. If they just made a massive change like that in the method of like the beard thing, what would be your opinion though on family members wanting to reach out now because they had that announcement versus choosing to have a relationship with you before then? I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I have a lot of thoughts. You go first, though, Nash. What do you think?
I think there could probably be some long conversations in order, which I think all of us would.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not. I know there are some that are a hard no, that just say, fuck you. You treated me like garbage for so many years, and you're done.
Yeah.
I'm not in that camp. I have one of my brothers I have some personal issues with, and I probably would have a hard time ever having a relationship with him, Jehovah's Witness or not. But the rest of my family, yeah, I would in a heartbeat if they were willing to talk. Yeah. The trouble is, the thing that is the wedge that's between us is the Watchtower, mm-hmm. and the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's their everything, right? It's that culture, it's their behavior and the way they think. And I don't know how do you have a relationship with somebody that is a Jehovah's Witness in the sense that their whole life revolves around it? How do you have conversations with that person now when your life is so different and you're worried to offend them with maybe you're talking about the kids, what they're getting for Christmas, or that you're going to school sports, and what do they have to offer the conversation? I remember those empty conversations at coffee at the Tim Hortons with all the other contractor Jehovah's Witnesses in town, and they were about nothing. They were about, you might talk about hockey a little bit, you'd end up talking about other witnesses because your life is so boring and there's nothing going on that all you kind of end up doing is talking about each other. Because you're all just waiting for it to end, so you can all be in paradise. And then I don't know what do you do. You can
very shallow,
talk about each other forever. I don't. It's such a waste.
As far as I'm concerned, like I think I don't belong to any religion, but I think that it's a good thing to keep your spirit light and to keep your heart light, right? And holding on to grudges and these types of things, I just wouldn't do that. I would forgive everything when it came to shunning instantly. And any member of my family could instantly have a relationship with me. And I would just say the past is past. It's water under the bridge. Let's move on. Life is, how many years we got left. Let's try and repair things. But there was a comment on Twitter not long ago, and it's exactly what Nash was saying, is that, you think you'd have you think you'd have a relationship, but the distance, the time that you have spent, out of the organization really is going to affect whether you can have a relationship with your witness family anymore. And so, I totally agree with Nash. I would want to, but the reality of it would be they probably wouldn't want to be around me anyway because I'm so different, right? And I would have to, even if I avoided talking about JW stuff, which I probably would for a little bit. I even all parts of my life, I'd have to, I can't really talk about that. I can't talk about that. You know what I mean? It would be a strained relationship, but hey, I would take that. Totally.
Yeah, I'd take that. I would still take that.
Yeah, damn right.
I'd take being able to have my dad over for supper once in a while and have an awkward supper and at least get to hug him on the way out the door. I'll take that over getting treated like I don't exist.
Yeah. And for my kids to, and you know what, the relationship with me would be awkward. But my kids maybe would have a relationship with my family. I would love that. My family hasn't even met my youngest daughter. They've never met her. And they've only met my second youngest. I have a lot of kids. And the second youngest son, they've only met him twice. you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, for them to have a relationship with their aunts and uncles, damn right. I would, if any family member of mine sees this, I mean, it's not like, I don't know. It'd be fine. I love my family and I think they're great people. They're just in a cult.
Yep, I'm with you. I feel the same way. If you guys are watching, you know my number.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Mitch?
Yeah, it's a hard one for me. Excuse me. I would say my desire would be like, yes, let's have that relationship. It would be really hard for me to accept that, because someone came on a broadcast and said you can now, you're now going to do it, and then to not have a conversation about that specifically. What's changed? Let's talk about. But kind of like what I would want to say to an elder on the street with a beard is like, because they gave you permission, you're doing it now. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. This is the point, right? The relationship is going to be, it'll be a difficult relationship.
Yeah. It would be a lot like being Pimo. When you're Pimo and you know what's up, you have to censor yourself, and people start treating you like you're spiritually weak, so they're cautious around you. It would be a strained relationship, but it would probably be okay. You could probably make it work. And
I don't think you could make it work 100%.
No,
it would be at least, you're going to have 50% versus 0. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey,
Larchwood, we're talking about you mostly. So
yeah, it's been all about you, but now we'll shut it down.
Well, yeah. Now that you're here, we'll talk about something else. Hey, thanks for all the posts that you're doing on Twitter. I know I already thanked you on X, Twitter, but hey, in person, thank you for all the work that you're doing with the Norway. I mean, you're my number one, and along with that, Ron Pomo, Ron Swanson, you two are my number one go-to as far as to what's going on in Norway. So thank you very much for that. Along with what you're saying there, Mitch, did you guys I was really surprised with the beard thing, like how I reacted to that. And it wasn't the announcement. It was when I saw Jackson with the goatee. That was real, right?
Yeah,
that was real, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Yeah.
Because it's funny. It's like maybe you don't know all the emotions that are underneath the surface. You know what I mean? And sometimes guys can push them all down. And so when I saw that, it was like I said on my X, it was like a combination of surreal, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. I can't believe this. And but also kind of a bit of anger for some reason, right? You can just change this. And so and what you said was so accurate. If they did change the shunning thing, it would be a surreal moment, but there would also be some anger there. You're just going to change it now? And it's
you would remember. I agree with you, Greg, because I think then you would remember every little moment where shunning really bothered you, right? You'd remember that moment where your brother treated you a certain way or your dad said something to you. I think that's why it would upset you, because I remember with the beard thing, when I heard about the beard thing, at first it was just like, oh, that's, that figures, they're so ridiculous. But at the same time, I started to think back and I was like, I remember the time I got hauled into the back because I had a beard. I had a beard before I left, and I got hauled in the back.
I started growing one while I was leaving.
Yeah, I was like 2 years before. I had a beard for, I don't know, a year and a half as a witness.
Going to meetings with a beard, hey?
Yeah, and I got hauled in.
Bold move, Mr. Otto.
and and they give you this real condescending talk. There's this one big fat truck driver elder who's just a fucking douchebag. I can't stand the guy. And he's super clean shaven. He's got this big fat round red face that's super clean shaven. And he's sitting across the table from me in the back room. And he's like, so Nation, we noticed What's with this? It's like he couldn't even say beard. He had to,
Oh gosh.
what's with this? And so I sat back there and took this whole talk about, how it shows a bad attitude and all this bullshit. And the reality was, at that time, I didn't have a bad attitude about it. I was, I was pretty for it all. And I just thought, what's the big deal? The beard thing was kind of becoming a thing a little bit. And so I was like, I always wanted a beard. And so I grew one, and a few other guys that I knew did too in other halls. Anyway, whatever. So that was fine. And then I remember I was fellowship the first time and trying to come back. And my ex-wife now, who was my wife at the time, it was Sunday morning, and I got up and I got ready to go to the meeting, and I'd been disfellowshipped. I'd had a DUI, and I was disfellowshipped and didn't have a driver's license, so I couldn't get to the meeting without her. And so I got up to go to the meeting, and she says, "Go shave your face."
Oh,
and I was like, "What?" She says, "Shave your face, or I'm not driving you to the meeting. Get that thing off your face."
oh,
and I did. I went and shaved my beard off so I could go to the meeting. And I just think back to all those little moments where I was just like bending to the will of some stupidity over nothing. And man, and those were little things. That was little bullshit things about a beard. So I can see how, like, shunning, if they stopped that and everybody came running back like, "Hey man, how's it going?"
Right.
There'd be a lot of hard feelings, I think, that I don't think you realize are there.
yeah,
That you'd have to deal with. You'd have to be like, "Oh God,"
yeah.
gotta get over that.
Yeah, when I say, I would just immediately forgive all my family and all be water under the bridge. I mean, maybe I'm underestimating the damage there. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, the beard thing, it is still surreal. I posted on Twitter. It was like, I was laughing the whole day when that first video came out. Like, this is just so ridiculous. It's like, as Stacy from
blown away.
As Stacy from Surviving Paradise says, we laugh so we don't cry. But it was just it's such a non-issue that people were harshly judged over or controlled for so long, and then just a magic wave of the wand and how you're supposed to feel about it afterward was just so ridiculous. And then, of course, just a couple weeks later, unofficially, someone leaks a picture of Jeffrey Jackson. And
with a goatee too. I mean, it wasn't like a beard; it was a goatee, which is
he had to wait till December 11th to start growing it out too. So
yeah, for those of us that are familiar with, I mean, it's not out in the open. I mean, I don't know. Can we say that the institution of non-beards? Can we just? I think we can 100% say this is a Rutherford invention. Right?
100%.
Yeah, and so I mean,
which they did not mention at all in the history of beards thing.
So, any witnesses that are watching, investigate this, research it. This is a invention by Joseph Judge. Oh no, is his first name Joseph? No, is it
Joseph Rutherford? Yeah,
yeah, Joseph Judge Rutherford.
He wasn't really a judge.
Yeah,
just for the record, he kind of like
made everybody
judge once in a while.
Yeah.
But he was a lawyer.
But this is an invention by him. And so can we I don't know, this is a bit of the end of the Rutherford era, maybe. I don't know. Like, this is a new era for the Watchtower, and they're closing the Rutherford era. And I'm sure there's other Rutherford isms lingering in JW doctrine, of course. But it's a little bit of a changing of the guard, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? No thoughts?
Well, what are they, 30 years behind the times? So
yes, yeah, yeah. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it 30 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to get completely away from Norway, but if we keep going on this beard thing,
yes, no, we shouldn't.
No. But I'm just saying, what's the motivation for them to change that too? Is it really a falling away of the old guard? They're dying off. They got rid of Tony so that they could make these changes. Is it really a change out of the goodness of their heart, or they're catching up and they are realizing that these little issues are actually costing us people leaving. I've told you guys before on our last stream, the beard thing was a key in me waking up. And
I mentioned it numerous times to my brothers when I was waking up too. It is a crack in there, right? And then once it's like one of the little cards gets pulled away from the house of cards, and then the house of cards falls. So you're right. It's a strategic move, probably, because they see that this is one of the first things that people start talking about. Maybe if we change that, I think it's totally a strategic move by them.
Yeah. Well, and they inherited the system. These people didn't come up with these rules. They inherited them.
Yep.
And so now they have to do these course corrections in a way that still presents the image of being somewhat divinely guided,
Yeah.
And so, they're in a sticky situation. So,
and they're self-serving, right? The changes they're going to make are self-serving.
Right. When a governing body member's in a horrific helicopter crash going to a branch, he'll get a magic blood transfusion and new light right away. I can't say that'll happen, but you got to wonder about some of these changes. Are they self-serving?
I think that when you become a governing body member, you start thinking strategically. Like, it's not, they say, all our decisions are just from the Bible. But now you're a governing body member, okay? And you think you're like chosen by Jesus and by God as the leader. So your decisions are like it's coming from the Bible. You are filled with Holy Spirit. So you can think strategically, like it gives them license to think like that. And to think, okay, well, we have this many followers right now. What can we change to keep those followers, or to maybe bring some people back? Like, you can think like a corporation, right? And it gives them, even though they're still believers in the organization and in the fact that they have the truth, they can now think like a CEO, right? How are we going to get, So, do you think that's logical, what I'm saying there?
Yeah, well, I mean, so getting rid of the beard thing isn't as big a deal, because it isn't. But in the course of the months, getting rid of counting time, allowing beards, what are they desperately in need of? They're
the Great Tribulation doctrine.
Great Tribulation doctrine. They're in need of young men to step up and join the leadership in the congregations. They're, step up to ministerial servants and elders.
Get that youth.
They're desperate for it.
Yeah.
And so, they eliminated the one metric that circuit overseers would always ask first. Do they have national average hours? 10 hours a month.
Yep.
Oh, that doesn't matter anymore. He now qualifies to be an elder magically because they changed that. These young guys who want to have a beard, now they can have one and we can use them. And like on Reddit, you saw people were getting called into the back rooms, or having elders want to go out to lunch with them. Even though last week they had a beard and it was an issue, this week they have a beard and now we can use them. There was a post on Reddit of a ministerial servant, a PMO ministerial servant, who doesn't go in service, who doesn't go to meetings unless he has a part, and it never comments in over a year. And he's like, "Oh, they called me into the back room. I'm going to be found out." No, they wanted to make him an elder.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
So they're it's a desperate move,
But it's you can see how that giving promotions, essentially that's what it is, right? A privilege in the Kingdom Hall is a promotion. And for as a male in the Jehovah's Witnesses, there are a number of promotions that you can reach out for, right? Not so much as a woman. Or at all, but you know that
I want to say something about that when you're done.
It just reminds me of as you achieve these promotions, as you climb these rungs of the ladder as a male Jehovah's Witness, you start to feel a little more important. You feel good about yourself. You feel like you're accomplishing something. Like, all of these things are ways to get their hooks into you a little more, so that you're it's harder to leave when you're really a part of it, right? When it's an important part of your life. So every time, now you're an elder, Now you're on the building committee. Now you're at LDC meetings, and you're seeing more of a corporate structure, and you're feeling like you're a part of it. And you're like, wow, this is interesting and important and big, and I'm a part of that. So I'm not going to just leave, as opposed to the guy with the beard at the back of the hall that doesn't go in service and has his job and plays rec hockey and has a couple worldly friends. And they're like, man, that guy's going to leave. So if they can somehow get him in there where he's feeling important too, and a part of this special group, this awesome big worldwide group, then maybe he won't leave. So you can see how that desperation is causing them to try and grab these guys.
Yeah.
Get them baptized young, get them appointed young.
Yeah. But here, and Nash and I have talked about this too. I know we're going to get back to Norway, but just one quick thing here. Mm-hmm. I do see it as the world kind of influencing the organization a little bit. Okay, there's a strategic move for the beards for sure, but look at the world. The world has changed with regards to beards as well. Okay, beards are more popular. Okay, now I have a prediction. Okay, the Watchtower is so misogynistic. Okay, and I actually think that the acceptance of women in leadership roles that's been going on for what in the world 50 years now, 60 years. You know, it wouldn't be a big deal if a woman was president. It would be a big deal, but it's like we've been expecting it for decades now. I think this is going to infiltrate the organization as well. And this is my prediction. I think a new position will be created in the congregation. It won't be elder, won't be ministerial servant. It'll be some sort of new position of a tiny bit of authority, and women can get this position. That's my prediction. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I think this is possible. What do you guys think? Am I completely out to lunch? Am I crazy? What do you think?
I think I kind of disagree with you. I doubt it. Yeah. No, I would be surprised. Yeah. So.
Well, I was shocked at the beard thing.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm going out on a limb, guys. I'm going out on a limb.
They
2 years,
obviously
going to
are
be a new
using them
position.
more. They're obviously using them more when they have to. And so maybe that will change where it's like, okay, we will allow sisters to run the sound desk, not because we're short on brothers, but because if they want to, they can. Maybe they'll change something like that. But like from the platform teaching or whatever, I don't think
I don't necessarily think it'll be that. It'll be just some authority.
Okay.
I think it'll be. Remember what they mentioned in the Australian Royal Commission about can't you send women to investigate these CSA situations? Can't women be a part of this? Maybe they'll do something there. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it'll be a good thing. It'll be bullshit. It's all bullshit. Okay. I'm just saying this is maybe one way that they're gonna kind of help placate the masses there a little bit. I don't know.
Well,
just a thought.
I think that women are oppressed in that organization. They are, that more than any group. It's disgusting how they're treated. I watch my daughters growing, and they're getting, they have a JW mom, and she has a big influence on them, along with the rest of their JW family, cousins and grandma. I don't know, and I mean, you guys probably know some successful JW women. I don't know one. I don't know a JW woman who has a degree, a diploma, a good job, a career job,
and happy.
And that's happy. I know JW women who are married, with a part-time job, or maybe a full-time job in the service industry or something, or maybe like something that they took a year of schooling for that didn't get them a diploma for anything. It's just a, massage therapist, some kind of helper position. Women are treated like that is it for them in this organization. You just grow up to get married. And if you don't get married, you regular pioneer until you die. Mm-hmm. And that is it. That is it for them. It's deplorable. I hate it. And I don't know how. It's hard to try and see a young girl growing up with that as their goal, and not get extremely upset because you try and help them to realize there's more out there. There's more for you. and they're not allowed to have it. So
Yeah.
I don't know if the Jehovah's Witnesses will ever change that. It is a misogynistic, patriarchal
That'll never
organization
change, I don't
through
think.
and through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see them maybe offering little nuggets of like things to reach out for, like tiny little privileges, as they call them. Maybe
you can wear pants if you're a pioneer.
Right. If it's minus 60.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, guys, listen, it's been an hour and 20 so far. Mitch, do you want to, should we close out on some more Norway talk before we shut this show down?
Oh, sure. I think one thing I wanted to highlight, I mean, people can go read all of this stuff on Norway and keep up with it. And, the XJWs testified on Thursday and Friday, they started. And then there's some more finishing out on Monday. But one of the points I wanted to highlight was the Watchtower lawyer was talking about how it's extremely rare that kids are affected by shunning. But he also made the point that he also said that children of excluded people, so like children of disfellowship people, are not denied contact with grandparents. His impression, however, that it was sometimes those who stand in the middle, the parents, who stand in the way of contact. So they were making a point to say, well, even if our child is disfellowshipped, we still want to have a relationship with our grandkids.
Yeah, I hate
and that is a huge thing told over and over and over again in this organization. If you've lost your kids, see if you can get your hooks into your grandkids. You need to do everything you can to grab them. And
sorry, Mitch, to cut you off, and then I want you to keep going on this. But before I forget this exact thing, there is a woman in our town here, grew up around her. Her mom got her arrested by the police, thrown in the psych ward overnight. They tried to lock her up and went to court to try and take her kids from her to save them from her new worldly life.
Yep.
That is a real thing that happens. It isn't just like we're trying to show them a Caleb movie. So her interviews on the Shun podcast, her name's Tara, and it was fairly recent.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody wants to listen. So that's,
I remember that. Yeah.
So she's a crazy story, and it's not a one-off. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's me. My kids experience the same thing.
Yeah. So that's a really frustrating thing. Like, I'm not in that position. But if I was one day, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. There are XJWs who allow these relationships. They try to set boundaries, between their parents and their kids. And that's not always respected. But yeah, if I'm ever in that situation, I really don't know how that would work. But yeah,
I think that.
But it's victim blaming by the organization right there to say, oh, we want a relationship with these little grandkids. It's their fault that we don't. So
gross.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know.
There's other news this week, though, isn't there?
There is, yes. I mean, like
destructive sect in Spain. Is that what we're allowed to call them? Destructive sect, or what's the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was another ruling on that overall lawsuit in Spain. So this one was against another individual, but yeah, the judge ruled again in favor of the XJW that he's within his rights to use phrases like that and describe them as such. So yeah, good things.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll quickly mention my situation here, our situation in Canada. So we're fighting for our records, and so this has been, I don't know, when did I start this? 2018, I think it was. Maybe it's 2019, I think. And so we basically went through the whole process with the Privacy Commission in British Columbia, Canada, to access my records. That took a couple of years because the JW just fought it over, and there was a court case involved too. So this whole process, it's a long story. We did a whole episode on it. We won. And then so it came down to the British Columbia Privacy Commission telling the Watchtower, okay, you have to produce the records now. You have to give it to you have to give the records to the Privacy Commission before the Privacy Commission can give the records to the ex-members, which are me and another guy. So the Watchtower again took that to what's called a judicial review, and that took a year. And I was a respondent in it, but I didn't do any arguing. I didn't get involved in the case because the British Columbia government, the Attorney General of British Columbia, and the Privacy Commission, who all have their own lawyers, were arguing for me because we already won. So they're arguing, they're defending their results. And so I was just paying attention, letting them argue for me. Sure enough, they did a great job. There were some other organizations that got involved. The Humanist organization got involved. And also the Watchtower brought in a conglomeration of churches.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact, there's an acronym there. Anyway, it's like a group of churches that all got involved in that too. So JW and this organization lost, and we won. So the judicial review was dismissed. So now the orders are put back in place. So of course we know Watchtower, they have endless money for legal fights. We're expecting that Watchtower is going
That's your money, Jehovah's Witnesses. It's your money they're spending.
Yeah. And all it is we're just trying to see the what happens is the Watchtower now has to give the documents to the Privacy Commissioner. Okay. And the Privacy Commissioner will remove anybody else's information. So let's theoretically say in these documents, there's some information about Jamie Lynn. Jamie Lynn did this. She was drunk one night and she, drove drunk and she got disfellowshipped. Let's theoretically say that was in my information. The Privacy Commissioner would redact that, right? So I wouldn't see it, and they would give it to me. Okay. Now, that there's probably none of that information in my personal information, but let's say that's what would happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the Watchtower lost their judicial review. Now the orders are in place to send the information to the Privacy Commission so the Privacy Commission can look at the information. But what's the Watchtower going to do? Probably going to try and appeal it, keep it in the court. And then, so we anticipate that when, let's say the Watchtower does end up giving the documents to the Privacy Commission, then the Privacy Commission will at some point give me the documents. And when they do give me the documents, we expect a whole another trial. So, so we still have a ways to go here. For people,
a win's a win is a win.
Yeah, win's a win. Yeah.
So there's been lots of losses for Watchtower this week, and lots of lying in some major newspapers and news outlets. I think that's great. That's a great week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Before we go, Megan has a question here.
Yeah.
She said, we'll just answer it quick. She just said, if they change the blood doctrine, the transfusions are okay, got rid of the 2-witness rule, and stop DFing, shunning people, would you give credit and say it's a win for us?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just talk and then you guys talk. We're not out to destroy the religion. I mean, if people want, I'm a believer in rights, individual rights, right? And I think that if shunning was the human rights of shunning was upheld, it would actually increase people's rights, individual rights, right? So people should have the right to have their own religion, believe what they want to believe. We live in a free country. People should be allowed to believe what they want to believe. And so, I'm not trying to destroy a religion. We are trying to uphold human rights, rights of children, rights of individuals. And if the Watchtower stepped in line with human rights, that's a win. I don't even know if I would have EXJW-Live. And you have it too. Now, it's not just mine, it's everybody's. But I don't even know if I would think about it a whole lot. So, 100% a win. This is what we're trying to do is get them to change policy.
Yeah. 100% agree. If they mainstream the religion and become like other Christian churches, there would be no JW activism. I wouldn't go back to the religion. I wouldn't join it again, but there wouldn't be anything to oppose. And what we're opposing isn't the religion itself. I mean, some of us are, sure, but we're opposed to the harmful practices that impacted us and that are still impacting our friends and family who are stuck in it, even if they don't feel like they're stuck in it. Like, a huge thing is, of course, protecting children, so the CSA issue needs to continue to be exposed until
probably the first thing, right?
They need to make a change. And then all these other ones, if they start happening, falling like dominoes, and they just become a mainstream religion, move on with our life now.
But my point is they're breaking the law. In my point, I think that they're restricting an individual's right to freedom of religion. I think that's why they lie about it in court. They lie about it in court because it's against human rights, which in Canada, we have a Charter of Human Rights. It is they're breaking the law right now. Otherwise, they wouldn't lie about it in court. Okay. So we just want them to, I mean, some policies as far as I'm concerned, the 2-witness rule and their CSA policy is breaking the law, right? And the shunning is breaking the law for those countries that follow a human rights and freedom of religion. They just got to follow the law, and then things will be better.
Yeah. And for our loved ones' sake, that's what we want, isn't it? If they want to stay Jehovah's Witnesses, then that's fine. But we don't want them to have to be subject to the 2-witness rule, to maybe losing their life because they need a blood transfusion. Having to have families broken up over shunning. It's disgraceful. And Jehovah's Witnesses will say they have the best life ever, but they're struggling with all of these things all the time, whether they want to admit it or not. And so to see those things change, while it wouldn't have, a huge effect on my life, it would still have an effect on my life. But for believing Jehovah's Witnesses, it would change everything for them. And like you said, they would have way more freedom of choice.
Yeah. If individual family member wants to shun you, I mean, that's their life. That's their choice. What we're trying to stop is the Watchtower forcing them to shun people, because that's what they do. That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mandated.
But are we going to get, and the thing is that it's probably not going to repair my family's situation. I don't think it's repairable, right? You know what I mean? But maybe we can just stop this practice for the next generation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there is a little altruism there. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not going to change my relationship with my family barely at all, if anything. Even if they do change it, I don't know if it's repairable. It might not be, right? But,
I think things are slowly changing even now. Like, I don't know about in the US. I mean, in other countries, I see a lot of like child baptism gets thrown around a lot. I feel like just from seeing people I know around here and my own kids, witnesses don't get baptized very young anymore. Not like it used to be. Not in Canada. They seem to wait until they're either near adult or adult. So I think that's a positive change, even if it's not even a mandated change, just a change in the way people feel about it.
Yeah. No, there's definitely progress being made. I mean, hey, is the change in the beards? Is that us having any success? Can we count that as I don't know. Can we?
I think you have to. But the ultimate thing is, what XJWs have done is they found their voice. That's what we've done. We found our voice to talk about the things that bothered us even while we were in it. And then we learned more once we came out of it. And it's like, oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. That is what Watchtower hates. It's their biggest enemy. And I don't know how they can't counteract it anymore. People have social media, they have TikTok and Instagram. And even when you start questioning if you're hurt, if you're fully in believing, but you got hurt, and you'll type something in and look and come across other people who are hurt in the same way, and they're talking about it. And that is, I don't know, that's part of my goal of what I do, is not that we want to see the religion banned, see it shut down, whatever. It's I want to be there for other people who are going through what I was going through, and help present them with the information that they're not being told by their organization, and to share stories from other people who are telling their stories. That's like, I like how Wendy Renee on her podcast, she says, like, in other people's stories, we see ourselves, and it helps validate those things that were done wrong to us that we didn't realize back at the times. Like, oh yeah, that was abusive. That was not the right thing. So anyway, I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but yeah,
no,
that's a goal.
That's perfect.
I agree. I think governments are the ones that are going to change the organization. And so we don't really have control over that, other than the fact that we can help put pressure on them to do that. But like you said, Ron, we're here to support each other and people that are leaving, and people that are questioning. And so I think that's why it's still important. That's why it's still important to be out there and be available and to bring awareness. And sometimes, I don't feel like posting about some stuff, but I do. I kind of carry on with it because there's people that are struggling like I was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's easy to kind of forget about that time. But it was an awful time in my life, and I hope someone else doesn't have to go through it the way I did. So, So if we can be there to help those people, then that's it. That's
the governing body and JW.org is the ones who are waking up people the most, but we're just here to be a soft landing place for them, So
yeah. Well, the Norway trial is still going, right?
Yep.
So maybe.
Yeah, I think it'll be another full week this week. So
more XJW testimony.
Everybody listening, if you haven't been paying attention to it, most of you have. I think it's Ron's gonna post about it on X/Twitter, and Larchwood is one of the big channels there and accounts to follow with regards to that. That's
Jan Frode Nielsen.
And of course, Jan. But how much time does he have? He's neck deep in the trial, so I don't know if
he's done his part now. Now he's now he's spectating.
Yep. And and some people, Twitter has kind of, you can't really see things unless you have an account now. But Larchwood's been posting on some pinned threads on Reddit.
Yeah.
And then on Avoid JW, they're continuing to update coverage there too. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so I think should we end it there? Thanks everybody for watching.
I think so.
Yeah, an hour and 40. We always say we're going to try and keep it to around an hour, but we always, and we only talked about like just the surface. I mean, there's so much we get distracted. It's so easy to get distracted and sidetracked in these conversations. But So thanks for watching, everybody. I think we're going to shut it down. Any message EXJW-Live. Send us an email if you want to do a show, you want to come on here. You
can message us on Twitter. All of us are on there. Mitch is Ron Pomo. And Mitch is my name, and Greg's just his name, I think.
Yeah, message us if you want to do a show or you want to do anything. And you guys have a good day. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Go Oilers.
Go.